received an apology and felt like, that wasn't really an apology. I kind of feel like that was more about you. Yeah, me too. Let's talk about it. Hi, refiners. Welcome back to another episode of the Refine podcast. I am so excited that you're joining us this week. I want to let you know that we have started putting some of these on YouTube. So if you're listening, but you want to see it, want to see us chat, me chatting to you, I suppose, come on over to YouTube and you can watch as well. So that's an option. I'm excited about this topic today, mainly because I'm kind of going through it in two different ways. I've owed someone an apology this last week, and someone has owed me an apology this week. So I don't have a formal outline today. I'm just going to chat it out and hope we get it all covered. But I think the society has a big misunderstanding on the art of apologies and how to do those properly and without excuses and without making it about ourselves and without being a burden on the person that's owed the apology. So kind of just want to talk that out. First and foremost, when we apologize, it needs to, it's not about us, okay? So an apology is reaching out directly to someone, and that can be hard. It's not always written. It's not always a text. Sometimes you gotta pick up the phone and call. Sometimes you gotta pop on Loom and let them see your face and your tone of voice and your heart, and or let them pick the format. Reach out and just say, "Hey, I owe you an apology. Would you like to talk? Can we do this? Can we do that?" Maybe the ball's in their court, and that's all going to vary based on the relationship, based on the offense, based on a lot of different things. But when someone apologizes and says, "I'm sorry, but," and then says, "but," or "at least," or "what I was trying to do," or anything that pulls in excuses is just, it falls flat. Really, the best thing to do is to come at it and say, "Hey, look, I made a mistake. I hurt you. I've caused some damage, and I'm really sorry. I just owe you the respect of that apology. I don't expect anything in return for that, in the sense of a conversation, or I don't expect that you needed that apology or desired the conversation so much as I owe you the respect of owning my mistake and sending you an apology. I'm sorry." That's it. That's all there is to it. You may not agree with the grievance. You may not see that you did anything wrong, but you can always acknowledge and validate someone else's perspective. Hey, look, it, it you know, I can see how I can see how this, I can see how this has created fallout, and I that's not my desire for this, and I'm just so sorry. Okay. In that regard, you're not admitting any kind of misstep or anything like that. Sometimes we can just be sorry for the situation. Like, this situation sucks, and I'm really sorry we found ourselves here. So, but the idea is that we're not putting it back on that person. We're not making excuses. And if they welcome a conversation, then possibly some of the context and intention comes about. And that's when you can do that. But that's on their terms. And for true reconciliation, it has to be as simple as, "I messed up and I'm sorry." Point blank, period. That's it. So, we've talked about plagiarism a bit in the refined community. And so I'm going to use that as an example here. We had someone that we get copycats all the time, right? And there's different levels of copycats. There's random spammers that just pull stuff up, and I, delete, ignore, or just say, "Hey, this is mine. What are you doing? Stop," or tag this or whatever, right? Like, we all experience stuff like that. And then there's "Oh, it looks like you're using my Instagram captions," or, just stuff like that. People I may or may not know, but I don't necessarily feel threatened by. However, I do have a brand to protect, and here's how it works legally. If you don't protect it, the first couple of times when you do go to court to try to protect it, the judge kind of rolls their eyes at that. Like, "Well, you haven't protected it. Why now?" And so, that's not formal legal advice, but that's just kind of a consistent soundbite I hear from lawyers. Like, you have to protect your brand, your trademarks, your copyrights, all of that. Now, Then there's the other layer of, a client doing this to you, or for, in my case, a student, right? And so, and then I have different layers of students. Like there's a buyer, there's someone that buys my products, and then there's someone that's, active in the community. And then there's another, next level of student that's like in my membership that I'm like, that's my circle, right? And so it breaks trust. It impacts, my ability when it happens from the inside, because it does. Refine is relational, right? And so when I'm on this roller coaster of who can I trust, then I have to pull back a little bit, or I don't have to pull back. I just, human nature, I pull back, and then so I'm not as relational, which then means there's a disconnect in what my goal and vision is for Refine, because I just want to be relational, right? But if I pull back, then like that damages the community, and it's not my goal ultimately in the long run here is to serve couples. My heart is for the couples, and I can reach more couples by serving wedding pros as a whole, right, than I ever could when I was serving 10 couples a year. So I have a real heart for that, and when someone comes at me in that way, and I have to step back relationally, it impacts a whole community. It impacts thousands of people, and then it impacts my income, right? Because it's relational. If I'm relational, I make money. If I'm not relational, I don't make money. Like that's just how this works. So plagiarism is not something that necessarily I expect it, right? And there's plenty of it that I'm like, okay, well, that's they say, that's a rite of passage. That's a form of flattery. That's all of that, right? But then when it's close to home, that's where the apology, that's where this comes in. So I basically, had to call that out earlier this week from a student that felt closer to me. And I just responded on their Instagram, cease and desist. This is not your content. Remove it immediately. This is not your content to sell. And they removed it. And 4 days later, I had still not even heard from them. No acknowledgement of it at all. So I reached out because, I had every right to just sue them. And the, research I've done on that is pretty hefty, the consequence. Like, I mean, it's significant. And so, I wasn't sure I wanted to go through that, but I decided I'm going to make them sweat at least a little bit. So I reached out. Hey, I'm disappointed. I haven't heard from you. And, I've got to find a way to prevent this. And so, I hadn't decided whether I was going to go public with your company name. I was hoping I'd hear from you before, as part of making that decision. In the meantime, I have informed other educators and, platforms so that they can take their own precautions. And those listening need to understand that's what we do. Like we do that for each other. So my competitors, they've all been informed of this person. They've all checked their student roster, and they get to decide what they do with that from there. Keep them, not keep them. That's their decision. But we've all been talking behind the scenes. Maybe we should start saying this stuff publicly. And so I told that student, I'm in the process of making that decision, and please learn from this and make better choices. This is the apology I got. You ready? The apology I got was, I'm so sorry. There was a lapse of judgment and trust, and please don't take this out on the team and their ability to earn a living. This has not been good for anyone's. She said it does appear that it has been shared publicly because I've been receiving nasty messages this week. Well, okay, I can't help the fact that I had to respond to your public posts telling you to cease and desist. So I'm sure people saw that. Like, okay. So she said, I've been receiving these nasty messages, and this has not been good for anyone's mental health, least of all mine. I've been hanging on a thread already, and there was a misunderstanding, and I'm so sorry. Okay, that entire apology was completely about this person. That person didn't at all consider how it might impact me. Going back to the conversation I just had about the relational impact that it has on my ability to lead and serve and refine, right? That person didn't recognized that she's like, please show us grace. And I'm like, I did show you grace. I didn't sue you. I haven't publicly shamed you. But I do have a backbone, right? And so I, this person didn't acknowledge how that at all could make me feel, how at all that could impact her fine, how at all, we did show grace and just didn't make any effort to reach out on their own, only apologized when I reached out. And they said, yeah, she did say, she goes, I did apologize on Instagram. It's like, well, so did you apologize where? On the post that I said cease and desist on that you deleted? Like, how am I supposed to see that unless I log on within the 5 minutes that you posted and deleted? I don't know, like what? Apologies are direct. Apologies are about the person you're apologizing to. Apologies acknowledge, the hurt that has been caused and ask for, how can I make this right? How can I earn your trust? What can I do to, what's our journey for reconciliation here? And not any of that was mentioned, and so, and I'll tell you, I've been in similar binds before where I'll just tell you that in having learned this art, it's not, there are going to be people that are hurt so badly that the best of apologies aren't going to restore anything. They're just not. But there have been situations where it's like, man, I have effed up. And when I come and I approach it with a proper apology, a healthy apology, there is room and space for reconciliation. And I have overcome some really big mistakes through that proper process, as have others in my life that have hurt me, that have come to me with a real apology. I've been like, you know what? Thank you. That was like, that had a level of self-accountability to it, a level of self-awareness. And I appreciate that kind of emotional intelligence. Let's put one foot in front of the other and try again. We're all humans. We all F up. Let's go. But when you get that kind of flatlined apology, it's like you don't really have what it takes to go from here and restore trust. Like, I don't want to be in a trusting relationship with you again. Like, it's clear to me that it's about you. And so the door's not open for that. So think about those things when you're hurt or when you're receiving an apology. Like, are you receiving a real apology? You're allowed to, it's one I can, as a person, human to human, recognize that she's got some things on her plate and have empathy towards that. But that doesn't mean I don't then take care of myself. I'm allowed to still be firm and hard-handed and say, hey, look, that wasn't really that I responded. I said that was not, that apology was about you. And I am going to take care of future Amber today so that she doesn't wake up one day resentful that she let people walk all over her. So we're at an impasse, and yeah, like, I mean, you're allowed to say those things, and you can clear as kind. So it's okay to make people sweat a little bit when they hurt you and they don't apologize properly. I do think a lot of times we just need to keep moving. Don't take things personally and recognize that not everyone was taught these things or makes the effort to learn them. And so it's no sweat off my back that she doesn't understand that. Like, I'm not going to dwell on it. I'm going to keep moving. Yeah. We've had to have some conversations among, the educator community to talk about prevention and, what are our safeguards here? Like, there's a real conversation that takes our energy and our time, right? But as far as like lingering headspace, there are always going to be copycatters. There are always going to be people that hurt us. And I want to encourage you, listener, to decipher what's worth putting your energy into. A lot of times it's better to just like laugh and vent with a friend over a Voxer and be like, are you serious? And look at their response. Oh my gosh, this is what I said back. And then you're over it. It's fine. Have a day on Voxer where you dish and then keep moving. And then there are going to be some that it's like, God, we have to have a conversation. All that to say, plagiarism is not okay. And weak apologies are not okay. And hopefully we've addressed both with this conversation. I was going to have an entirely separate podcast about plagiarism, but I think we covered it. Stop buying my shit, stop asking me how to do stuff, and then going and selling it like you created it. That's not cool. Here's another thing. Ideas are not, you can't copyright ideas. You just can't. And there's only so many original ideas, right? Like we're all here absorbing information and education from each other and learning and growing together, right? So there's only so many ways to regurgitate something and to join the conversation. I get that. When it comes to a literal format, copy and paste, and we're not even changing sentences or words, and it's just, you've taken my whole process and are selling it. No, please and thank you. Bye. That is illegal. There's a big difference. So please go and educate others with the content you have learned and refined. Please go and share it and better our industry through those conversations. Co-opt the conversation, co-opt the education, and say, hey, look, I've learned this and I want to expand on it here in my market. I want to help couples with this, or I want to help planners or photographers with that, and like join the conversation and expand on it. There's a lot to be said there, and there's so many ways that we can elevate the industry by coming together and being united on kind of stuff. I want that. And I am constantly connecting people with, this conference or that workshop or this educator so they can learn how to be a speaker, or, I use this platform for, selling my tools and documents. And I get excited about that. And I want that for you all to grow up as educators, but you're not going to do it by coming into the current communities and answering every single question that everyone asks so that you look like the expert, without ever directing people to the resources available in that community. So, come in and answer the questions, be helpful. That is one way to make yourself known. That is being a thought leader. But you do need to be respectful of the current community leader and point people when you answer. I've had people do it in both ways. I've had person that was rising up as an educator and a leader in our community, and just, she was helpful, and when possible, and it made sense for the question, she would point people back to, oh gosh, Refine has this tool, you should go check it out. Okay. And then I've had people come in and just like answer questions and kind of pretty much in the complete opposite philosophies of Refine as well, even, which is okay. That's kind of the beauty of Refine and answering questions in the Facebook group, is that we're going to all have different opinions. So then it helps people in different markets with different ideal clients. And that's really cool. But don't try to launch yourself out of my community by defying everything I say and never once pointing people back to my content. Like, that's just weird, I think, maybe. There are excellent ways to come up and launch. And I can tell you that educators in this industry are so supportive, and we collaborate. And the direct competitors that you do see inside of the Facebook group are ones that we've agreed on collaborations behind the scenes, and we're doing enough that it's a little bit, that's different enough that, we have some overlap, but it is different enough. And then you've got some direct competitors that are not in the Facebook group that are still dear colleagues of mine that I love and respect. It's just that we're doing the exact same thing. And so we know that like, that's like being on the inside and seeing how the sausage is made. And we just got to have your own spaces in that regard. And that's totally cool. So don't read into all that too much, but do it the right way. Just know that we're here to support you, and you don't have to copy us. Like, we're here to like, go do it, but like, don't copy us. And if you get caught, like, own it and apologize properly. So I started this thinking I would just talk about apologies in general, but apparently I needed an example to, paint it, bring it all to life. So we've, like I said, knocked out 2 birds with 1 stone. I think that's it. That's all I've got for today. Thanks for joining me, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.